All right, so Anthony Davis is coming back tomorrow. I know this is obnoxious, and nobody wants to hear this, but the Lakers were the best team in the league last year. They were the best team when LeBron and Anthony Davis played together this year. Now the brittle guy and the older guy have taken a rest, and they're about to come back, and they're going to be the best team again, and they're going to win a championship. The Lakers are the best team. I've watched the Clippers a lot in the last month. Paul George is on fire. There's something there. I've watched Philadelphia. Ben Simmons takes some nights off when he and Embiid play. They're very good. Still think they need another shooter. And I've watched Brooklyn. The 4 or 5 games, actually all the guys have played together, but they have no chemistry and they're not very good defensively. The Lakers will win the championship. And when you watch all these stars play together, Joy and I had talked about this, it was remarkable how LeBron and Anthony Davis clicked immediately. LeBron was best friends with D. Wade. It took 3 months. They were just clunky together, even though they had so much talent in Miami. Why do LeBron and AD work? It's really simple. As a basketball player, LeBron is a leader. As a basketball player, Anthony Davis wants to be led. A lot of guys in this league think they're leaders. Kevin Durant, Kyrie. But they're not physically or emotionally dependable. If you're depending on Anthony Davis, he becomes Rasheed Wallace, who I covered in Portland. If you're depending on him, he'll drive you nuts. But if you ask him to be led by others, a strong coach and a strong floor leader, and just be productive, he's as difficult to defend as anybody. Phil Jackson told me in the middle of the Laker dynasty with Shaq and Kobe, I sat in the hallway of the Staples. It was one of those times when Phil Jackson there and 9 reporters. And I asked him in the series, Lakers were even with Portland, how do you think you can stop Rasheed Wallace? He's giving you trouble. Phil Jackson turned to me, all 6, 7 of him, and said, Colin, we will not be able to stop Rasheed Wallace. There's nobody on our roster that can stop him, including Shaq. If he scores 40, we hope to slow everybody else down. That's how good Rasheed Wallace was. He was ahead of his time. God, if he could play today with that three-point shot, Anthony Davis is Rasheed without the technicals, without the volatility. He doesn't want to lead, and he has the self-awareness to know that's not who I am. Guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie want to be the man, but they're not really built for it. Kyrie's just too erratic, and physically he gets hurt. KD, similarly. Little off, little erratic behavior, very, very emotional, thin skin, can't be as a leader, have to take the heat. But Anthony Davis has this understanding. I want to be led, and LeBron loves to lead. And that's why it works magic. That's why I said when Kevin Durant left the Warriors, I said, man, I'm not sure about this because Steve Kerr's a great leader, and so is Steph. And Kevin Durant could drive to the facility, score 28 a night, grab titles, single guy, have a life, off season, don't have to do all the media stuff for the Warriors. During the season, don't have to do all the media stuff for the Warriors. Draymond likes to talk, and Steph likes to talk, and Kerr likes to talk, and the owner grooved him into some tech investments. It was perfect. And now in Brooklyn, he's got to be the man, and that's not what he is. What he is brilliantly talented. Kevin Durant, KD, is more AD than he'd ever want to admit. And AD's ability to admit that is why he'll come back, LeBron will follow, and the Lakers will win back-to-back titles with them. Ryan Russillo is going to join us now, The Ringer, Ryan Russillo podcast. Joining us live, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. So here's my theory. I do think the Lakers will win it. I think they're younger and deeper than last year. And I think, the old man and the brittle man, LeBron and AD taking time off is actually, in a weird way, actually beneficial. But I covered Sheed for years. And when I first covered him, he drove the Blazers nuts because they depended on him. That's not who he is. What he is filthy, crazy good. And when they came to terms with, when you put Rasheed Wallace with Detroit, that had Chauncey Billups. They had leaders. Sheed's a monster. And that AD and LeBron work because LeBron is a hooper, is a leader, and AD likes to be led. And he's self-aware. He doesn't care. And I see some, now he doesn't get the technicals. He's not as volatile because Sheed was crazy. But I think AD reminds me a little bit of Sheed. Wants to be led. When you lead him, he's money.
Okay, we may not get to anything else. All
okay,
right, and this feels like one of those Cowherd greatest hits CDs that comes out at the end. Because this is all of your anti-Anthony Davis stuff that we used to yell at each other about in the hallway.
Yeah.
Your anti-Kentucky thing, where you like everybody from Kentucky's a bad pro, and there's like 40 of them in the league. You're wrong on this one. Okay. You're wrong. Anthony Davis, you want to tell me he's not a one? That's fine. How many ones? How many true ones are there in the NBA, a league of between 450 and 500 players that play in a season? How many ones are there that as soon as you get them on your team, they completely change who you are and give you a real chance at a championship?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay. So I would say LeBron. I'm a Chris Paul fan. I'm a huge Chris Paul fan. By the way, I used to be a denier. I would say Jimmy Butler in Miami has been unbelievable both ends of the floor. He's changed the temperature in the room. They got a bunch of kids. Then I would say Steph. 4.
So wait, you haven't...
What? 4, the whole league.
Wait, see, the thing is my list is 4. So I thought when you said Jimmy Butler, I'm like, oh no, we're gonna be here. We're gonna be here till Saturday. I wouldn't put Jimmy down as my 4, but I think it's 4. I think it's Steph. I think it's LeBron. I put ahead of Steph because look, even with Steph with no one around him, they may not even make the real playoffs.
That's
here.
Right.
Kawhi is certainly that, but with the injury management, I think it's a legitimate question you have to ask yourself. And I throw Durant in there. Okay, so the point is that even as great as Harden is, I don't know that it guarantees you a chance at winning a championship. So if your counter or your anti-Anthony Davis position, not you or anyone else out there, is like, well, he can't be your one. Okay, well then join the club. Because it's like a handful of guys. That's a very, very short list. Not, hey, who's really good or who can be the lead guy on a team, but changes. So we don't even know if Giannis is that right now. I love Embiid. I'm not sure that's who he is. Joker's going to win the MVP, I think, this year because he's been the healthiest out of the group. I'm not sure that he guarantees you that kind of championship. So the point of all of this is that if you're saying Davis can't be that guy, that's fine. Yeah, there's moments there. Look, the injury thing is real. It's a problem. There are moments when I watch him where I'd like to see just a little bit more aggression. But I'm going to throw a couple numbers at you here, okay? Because I think the Sheed comp is so far off here because as good as Sheed was, he was somebody that was complimentary, like incredibly complimentary when he was in Detroit. He was averaging 13 a game for them, all right? His shooting number is like 40, 44, 45% from the floor. Anthony Davis in his playoff career is like a 28 a game, 11 rebound a game guy. He's at like 58% from the floor. He's honestly one of the 5 most talented guys in the league. And if you want to throw one more stat at it, I know there's no perfect stat. If you go PER, which I think does a good job of telling us the extremes. You want to know who number 1 is? It's this guy named Michael Jordan, all right, all time. Number 2 is LeBron James. Number 3 right now in career PER is Anthony Davis. Rasheed Wallace is at 241. They're not the same guy.
All right. Well, that's a decent argument. All right, let's move to this. This is what we talk about when we have beers. We argue like this. Okay, so I said this for the Brooklyn Nets. What's interesting about the Brooklyn Nets is I'm falling for it, or I did early like I did the Clippers. They'll figure the chemistry out later. The deepest roster is a bunch of baskets, good. And it's all of a sudden you're like, if you don't think chemistry matters, look at what Doc Rivers has done to the Sixers. Like, it's like, oh, it's amazing that, and Doc told me, and I'm sure he's told you this, when he went into the bubble last year, he told the Clippers, guys, we're not playing together. We have no chemistry here. And he told me that after the season. And I look at the Brooklyn Nets and I think to myself, we're falling for it again. They've played 4 total games. You cannot solve your issues in the playoffs. And I look at Brooklyn and I'm like, I don't know if they get to the finals. I don't know if they match up with Philadelphia. I mean, where are you on the Nets today?
I'd like to believe everything you just said is still important. So I lean towards agreeing with you here because as weird as these regular seasons have been for much bigger reasons, it's just odd to think that, okay, so a group that's never done anything together, I'm just like, hey, you guys want to start playing for real now? I would think that's a huge ask. The problem is when those guys are together, and it hasn't even necessarily been when even Durant's in the lineup, the offensive numbers are a joke. Now, to say historically they're the greatest offense ever because that's what the stats are saying, I think, look, this has been the easiest year to score I've ever seen in my lifetime of watching basketball.
It is.
Okay, I mean, it's never been easier to score a bucket. We get guys getting 20 a game where I'm like, is that guy going to be in the G League next year? All right, so I look at them against Philadelphia and I say, okay, the Nets defense isn't that good. The bigs, I don't know that it's really a problem for them. There's going to be a night where if they go up against Embiid, where Embiid's going to get 40, but if the Sixers aren't shooting around him, it's not going to mean anything. But here's the thing I keep coming back to that I like. At least I know with Philadelphia, like how everybody is supposed to be used. And between Green, Thibault, and Simmons, who might be Defensive Player of the Year, those are three incredibly versatile defenders that can switch a lot, that also give you a lot of size. So it's just keeping Brooklyn honest and making them work if this matchup actually happens in the East, because I feel like we still are being a little dismissive of Milwaukee as well, as they've had another really good season, and they say this is the best version of them, but we don't want to buy into it. I would love to see it look real, because I still don't know if the regular season is so, like, are we so beyond the regular season, and maybe we are with this one, that we're just supposed to give you the benefit of the doubt when there's no reason to. You want to tell me the Lakers and I'm supposed to give them the benefit of the doubt? Okay, no problem. I just saw you do it last year. It wasn't even that long ago. So I'm with you, Colin. I think it's a big ask to go, okay, Harden, whose playoff disappointments are lengthy, Kyrie, who at this point you don't know what to expect of him, and the Durant injuries that continue to pile up, like as if you're just supposed to hand them the East. I think that's granting them a huge benefit of the doubt that I don't feel comfortable with.
Couple football topics now. So one of the things about the draft is, just the more layers you uncover. We found out about Justin Fields' epilepsy. I don't know what it means, but in the end, I didn't know about it 2 days ago. I know about it now. And I started digging the last couple days on Zach Wilson. And there's a front-runner component to him that's really weird. If you go to the 5 teams he's ever played against, and I'm not talking Ohio State, Oklahoma here. I'm talking the 5 10-plus win teams, Utah, San Diego State, Coastal Carolina. Not only is he 0 for 5, he's got 1 touchdown and 7 picks. Okay. So, and by the way, BYU's not a bad program. They've got real players. This is BYU's a top 25, top 30 program. Then when you put him up against Chris Peterson and Whittingham, I think the 2 best coaches he ever faced, he didn't win any of those games either. He was 0 for 3, more interceptions than touchdowns. And I've always said this about Aaron Rodgers. He's great. Little front-runner component, but Aaron went into a stable organization and sat for 3 years. And then when he came out, he had Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, 1,000-yard back, and they were 13-3 the year before. And he still struggled as a rookie being the first year out. I look at Zach Wilson, Ryan, the more I look at, the more I'm like, one of these guys is going to bust. There are a million red flags with him. Are there not?
Yeah, I think the component where you go up against the weaker opposition this year compared to previous years, you're like, okay, well, what story am I being told here? I had his head coach, Kalani, on my podcast recently, and I go, what's going on? He goes, well, what you guys don't understand is that he actually just improved, okay? So, can the guy just get better? But the bust part of what you're talking about is a perfect example. The more I've looked at this now, all right, as long as I've been on the air almost 20 years and loving the quarterback deal of the NFL draft as much as you do, the more I've dug into it and looked through it, the more I know I don't have any idea what I'm doing. I'm serious. We could sit there and go, okay, he wasn't very good against the better teams. That's a huge red flag. I would agree with you. But the funny thing is Josh Allen, when we saw him coming out of Wyoming, where honestly the first 2 years of his NFL career, I was like, I don't know what's going on here, if this is going to work out. The worst games he had against the teams that were good, like Oregon, the Iowa game, I thought he might have to retire at halftime of the Iowa game. And the thing is that actually in that Iowa game, when he had no chance, you saw him fight and compete like crazy, and that was actually a positive, even though the numbers were atrocious. So I can give you a template for any guy where it's like, actually, this guy did this and he was great, so now this guy will be great. Or, hey, this guy did this and he was terrible, so this next guy's a bust. Here's what I know, is the 5 or 6 guys we're arguing about, 3 are going to stink and be on different teams in 3 years. And I can't really do a great job of telling you which ones I would want to bet on, because it's so hard with quarterbacks, even in the first round.
Finally, Trevor Lawrence. Scouts pick people apart. Scouts are now saying he's not good under pressure. And I'm like, yeah, he lost to LSU. It's crazy how that works. The best college team ever. When I hear the criticism he's not good under pressure, and I watch Mahomes, and I gave his stats in 8 quarters of the Super Bowl, and they're like horrible. I'm like, can we stop? What do you make of the pressure? By the way, I've heard this now for 2 years. Oh, when he plays Ohio State and LSU, he's a different guy. So's everybody, right?
Yeah. Look, as much as I didn't like the Rashid Anthony Davis segment, I couldn't agree with you more on this one. This one is okay. This would be like describing a hitter saying, when he strikes out, he doesn't give you a lot, and you're like, okay, Which quarterback is good under pressure? Okay, until I hear one guy that played, one guy that was a GM, ever in all the years that we've done this, Colin, one guy say, you know which quarterback is awesome, who thrives when he's getting hit and getting pressure up the, granted, yes, we could talk about the guys that can escape and you can't contain them in the pocket, but nobody with this kind of approach to playing the position is going to be good under pressure. I've seen enough of him. Like, hey, what the hell is Bama as a freshman in the national championship game? Like, that's not, you want to tell me that the game got out of hand so that they couldn't pressure you as much? Okay, fine. But we get so much time with these guys. If he doesn't work out, it's going to be because he's too tall and long in his release. And then other guys are like, well, he's long, but he's actually not that long in his release. It depends on, do you believe Dilfer? Do you believe, I talked to Carson Palmer this week too, and they disagreed on kind of the mechanics of the whole deal. I just saw a guy out there whose teammates loved him, who competed like crazy, who's a sick athlete for his size. And yeah, he had weapons all over the place. But just because we've had more time to look at this and go, he got dinged up a little bit against an NFL team that was out of Baton Rouge, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, same here. Well, that was good. That was healthy for both of us. It was like a therapy session. I had to come to terms with some of my foibles and issues. Right. I really appreciated that.
This really was like a rom-com there at the end because we worked it out.
The Ryan Russillo podcast, it's very popular. Occasionally he'll have me on that, but you get once a year, and that's about it's very.
That's about all I get out of you. Well, I put in an ask before you moved, and now now I know I'm never going to get you now.
I got hamburger chains opening up. Russillo, I'm a very busy guy. All right, buddy. Good seeing you. The Ringer, Ryan Russillo. Listen to his stuff. Thanks, bud.
Thanks.